As the world continues the commemoration of this year's International Women's Month throughout March, the spotlight turns to the pressing issue of fertility and reproductive health for Nigerian women. Players in the women's health sector are calling for urgent measures to address the challenges faced by women in accessing quality fertility care, family planning services, and maternal health support. Earlier, a fertility educator, Adeola Olunloyo, spoke on this and more. Let's take a listen.
As we celebrate Women's Month this year, it's important to ensure that we also accelerate action on women's reproductive health and fertility education. And this is important because we're having a growing population of women who are delaying marriage and motherhood. And they're doing this because of pursuits of educational aspirations, career aspirations, economic independence, and also because of evolving social norms in our society. And for this reason, many women are missing their biological timeline, what we popularly call biological clock. So it's important, as we also celebrate women in terms of affirmative action this month, to also call women and, give them like a wake-up call to say that as they're pursuing their careers and their personal aspirations, they must also remember and recognize the importance of accelerating action on their fertility. You will recognize that in Africa, we're predominantly a patriarchal society. So invariably, most issues that go wrong when it comes to fertility are ascribed to problems from women because men don't like to take the blame, yes? Although, like you rightly said, when we deal with fertility, we have to deal with it for both men and women. But because, of course, we are focusing on women this month, it's important because the longevity of women's fertility is shorter than the longevity of men's fertility. A 50-year-old man may still be able to, impregnate a woman, but a 50-year-old woman may not easily get pregnant unless it's through divine intervention. So we're paying more attention to women because by 35, the biological clock significantly begins to drop for a woman. So we feel like this is important for women to recognize and also give women adequate information, and also men, to understand and recognize that their timeline for fertility is different from the timeline of a woman, and we can, both work together, as both genders to ensure that women do not miss their biological clock. But responding also to what you asked about why we're focusing more on women, like I said, women tend to take the blame because they carry the pregnancy, even though we know that it's the men who provide the seed for the pregnancy to occur. But culturally, in terms of our background and our tradition, once there's no pregnancy, everybody looks at the women before they look at the man. So maybe that's why. Not yet. It's becoming an option that is being considered and being used actually successfully by women in our world. But people still don't understand why it's important. And I'll say this, when we look at people's bodies, right? Some women have different medical conditions that makes it difficult for them to conceive or makes it difficult for them to carry their pregnancies to term. And those women may never fulfill their aspirations to become mothers unless they seek the help of a surrogate. I've met women in real life who keep having miscarriages or whose lives are threatened by pregnancies. And because they can't perform that function that is so important in their marriage, they have to outsource that responsibility to a surrogate. It's not a first choice for many women. It's often considered when they have no option. The first choice for any woman will be to conceive herself. Every woman that I know who gets married wants to enjoy pregnancy and let people see that they are pregnant, experience, the joy of motherhood, carrying pregnancy and delivering. Again, each woman's medical situation will dictate whether or not the option is applicable to them. So there are different pathways and different options. It's difficult for me to say what the options are here without a medical assessment, right? So for some women, they may have hormonal problems. For other women, they may have fibroids, for instance, or endometriosis or adenomyosis. So in my case, I have my own personal experience because I've gone through 3 unsuccessful IVF treatments. And in my own case, mine was age-related ovaries. My ovaries were not viable because I was more advanced in age. So different women have different issues, and it is until the medical person assesses you and tells you what the problem is before they can, provide an option that is suitable for you. To be very honest, currently there is no help. There is insufficient help both from the public sector and the private sector because most health insurances do not cover fertility treatments. So many couples and individuals have to pay out of pocket, which is unaffordable or even, not an option for many women. It's a barrier, a huge barrier that limits or prevents many couples or individuals from accessing fertility treatments. So I would say the government can take the lead, to begin discussions with the private sector, but they also must show the willingness to discuss, with health insurers and make sure that there's provision. I mean, for government facilities where they provide health insurance normally for their staff members, they need to expand those policies to also cover fertility treatments to ensure that their staff members have access to at least one, I would say at the minimum, one treatment of fertility treatment to help those who are dealing with infertility. And private sector also has a lot to do, especially for those who can afford it, to give considerations to ensure not just fertility treatment, but also fertility preservation. Remember that I said that we have a growing population of women who are delaying motherhood. There are some sectors like banking, like healthcare, like engineering, like the military, where the women who are serving there cannot rush into pregnancy. So if they have to delay pregnancy to be able to perform their job better, then the organization also always holds them the duty or the responsibility to provide some succor or solution for them to preserve their fertility, which is, save their eggs before they cross the mark of 35 that can make it impossible to get viable eggs. Medically, we've gone very far in terms of identifying different issues that are causing infertility. But I would want to focus more on what is within the power or control of women to prevent infertility. And the first one and main reason why I'm here is to promote age-related fertility, which is every woman must understand that there's a limited timeline for their fertility. If you want to become a mother, you want to have children, as you are planning or aspiring to pursue your career, understand that there's a timeline, which is ideally your fertility peak before 35. You should try and have your children, or at least start having your children before you hit 35, so that you won't be facing infertility or a decline in the quality of your eggs. The other one is also avoiding unsafe abortion. Because in this country, abortion is still illegal, so many women still resort to quacks to get abortion procured. And when that happens and they contract any form of infection, it can block their fallopian tubes later on. The other one I can mention also is prevention of sexually transmitted infections. If you're sexually active and you're in a relationship, ensure you use protection at all times. Again, when we talk about sexually transmitted infections, many women are more affected than men in the sense that when a woman gets infected, because of our biological anatomy, sometimes they are asymptomatic. They don't get to see the symptoms or signs to know that they have an infection. It spreads or is hidden. Meanwhile, for men, because of their own reproductive organ, they get to see symptoms quicker. Maybe pain, urinating, or pause, or from the penis or whatever. But for many women, sometimes their symptoms are silent. So they can go on for years with these infections without knowing that they have those challenges, which can lead to infertility or blocked tubes or anything that can compromise their reproductive tracts later on. So those three things I think are essential to pay attention to, for you to prevent infertility.